Hello and welcome to Royal Reviewer, live chat, question and answers. So, let's hope we get lots of really good questions this chat session. And of course, I come on YouTube live chat every single Saturday at 10 p.m. GMT time. So, if you just do a quick Google check about when your time correlates with mine, we should be able to get everybody involved in the online chats. So, I'm just waiting for some viewers to come online. If I just explain a little bit about this chat session. So basically, you just come online and in the chat box, which you can see below, hopefully, you can say hello to me, you can ask me a question, you can talk about what's been happening in the royal media, you can talk about my videos, you can give me a suggestion. So don't be shy, just ask me lots of questions. And I've also got a few things to show you as well, which I might keep for later on in the video. So if you are on the internet and you're watching me, please say hello. I would love to take my first question. So I hope you've all had a really good week. Okay, so we have C's Keaterman says... Actually, C's Keaterman, that was from last week. So, it's remembered my chat from last week. So I'm just waiting for people to say hello. So I'm going to type in the chat box. Hello. Please leave me a question. I hope you can all see that. So it's been a really, really busy royal week. There's been lots of engagements, especially with the younger royals. And of course, the Queen is still up on her holidays in Scotland in Balmoral. And as you could see in some of my videos from this week, she was seen driving around Carol Middleton and Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge. Which obviously shows that Carol is becoming very ingratiated within the inner circle of the royal family. Okay, Vivian says, hello from Hacienda Heights. Hello. I hope all is well with you. I believe that's California. And if you have a question for me, please leave it in the comment section below. Okay. I do have a cup of tea, so please excuse me if I do sip from it. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to questions from this week. Okay, so Crystal Wilkinson says, what is it like being a citizen of a country that has a monarchy? Well, to be honest, it's one of those points where if people ask you a question and you've never experienced anything else, how do you know what it's like to not have a monarchy? So my answer is, I suppose we get quite a warm, fuzzy feeling from having a monarchy. It's something tangible. It's making the state a reality. It's putting the state into a person rather than it being just a government that changes continually. You have the continuity and you feel like you have the history and the continuity. So, of course, I really like having a monarchy. Some people don't agree with the monarchy. Some people would like Britain to become a republic. But that is quite a small number of people. The majority of people in many polls over many, many years have always shown support of the monarchy. And I think British people really do get that feeling that the monarchy do good work for the people. And it's not just a politician that changes, every 4, 5, 6 years. It's people that really get to know the country. The Queen has been on the throne for over 60 years. She knows the country. When a Prime Minister goes to his or her weekly chats, with the Queen and they have a problem, the Queen has more than likely experienced something similar in the past. She's able to give advice. And I think everybody just feels that the monarchy has a benefit to the country. But I don't know what it's like to not be in a monarchy, so please let me know what you think about your system of government. Do you like it? Would you prefer to have a monarchy? Let me know. Okay, Vivian says, I saw a programme that featured Lady Sarah, the late Princess Margaret's daughter. Why isn't she more well known? She seems down to earth. Yes, she is one of the quite favoured members of the royal family, but she is very low key. I don't think she likes to be in the limelight. You do see her on some family occasions, sometimes on the balcony, at royal weddings and christenings and such like. She's very tight-lipped. She never gives anything away. She's just there, and she's a very respected member of the royal family from within the royal family. And she's just very discreet. She doesn't really make a noise, and she is very down to earth. And of course, she's not a working royal. She's not. She doesn't receive any perks of being a royal. She self-supports herself, so that's why she doesn't really perform any royal duties. That's left to the core of the family and some of the elder royals, who are the Queen's cousins. Okay, do we have any other questions? Those of you that have just joined, please say hello. There's a chat box below. It should be somewhere on your screen, depending on what device you're on. So please just ask me a question. You can talk about anything you want. Obviously the theme is the royal family, the British royal family. Although I did do a video last week on the Swedish royal family with the christening of Prince Alexander of Sweden. So that was my first foray into reporting European royals. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you'd like to see in the future, what you've enjoyed. If you've got any questions about the videos that I've made this week, just let me know. Of course, we saw Prince William this week coming to the rescue of an elderly vice lieutenant who fell over a bollard, showing his heroic caring side. Okay, Crystal Wilkinson says, going back to the question about monarchy over republic, I think I'm super jealous. All we have are celebrities, but it isn't like we can watch them doing normal day-to-day things, i.e. Prince George going to school. No, I suppose if you're a royal, you have to tread that fine line. It's a fine line of having a private life, and some things are private, like personal private holidays, and then when you're working, when you're helping charities, when you're doing official state business, when you've been sent on a state tour, when you're attending a state banquet, effectively you're working. So I suppose you invite the media in, but when you invite the media in, you also get people interested in the private life. So of course I don't think we'll see many pictures of Prince George or Charlotte going to school. I don't think it'll be quite the same as when William and Harry were young. I think lessons have been learned and the privacy of children is generally respected. I think you still have paparazzi who do go chasing pictures, but generally the British press in particular don't tend to publish those pictures. The Duke and Duchess are very good at releasing their own private pictures to the media every so often to mark occasions like birthdays and christenings or whatever it might be. And generally that kind of unwritten agreement has held, and I think it will continue into the future. When William and Harry were young, there was the press agreement not to report them at university and their schools. So I think we've certainly moved on in terms of privacy. I think foreign media and foreign press aren't so understanding with regards to privacy. I think in foreign publications, pictures are published, but in the UK, generally we don't get to see them unless people go looking for them on the internet. So I hope that answers your question. And of course, obviously, royals are very different to celebrities. Celebrities get paid a lot of money to put themselves out there, and the royals don't receive a salary as such. Okay, Loretta. Hi, Loretta. She says, how is Princess Anne's health? I read the Duke of York will be taking some of her duties. Yes, I mean, I made a video on Princess Anne's health. I was debating whether or not to do a story on her health. Again, it's that issue of privacy. But I did get information coming in that it wasn't just a cold, that it was something a little more serious. So I felt it was appropriate to put that story out there. And of course it's turned out to be true. She's had to cancel her tour. And of course the Duke of York will be filling in for her. So I really hope she gets better soon. I don't think it's serious to the point of being hospitalised again. But I think she just needs lots of rest and recuperation. And of course, she's such a hard-working royal that sometimes, you know, if your immune system's down and you've caught a cold, you need a bit of rest. It's a little bit like Hillary Clinton in America with the pneumonia. I mean, really, technically, she should be resting. But she's sort of pushing through and, you know, who knows how that will go. But your health is very important, and I think Princess Anne knows that she can only benefit her charities and her good work that she does if she's healthy. So I think on very good advice, she's taking a well-needed rest, and good luck to her, and I really hope that she gets well soon. So, good question, Loretta. Do we have any other questions? Anyone who's just tuned in, say hello. Listen to the questions, or if you've got one of your own, just put it to me. I don't mind. I will read out all questions. Please let me know what you think of the videos, what you'd like to see in the future. And of course the Queen is still in Balmoral. She's expected to return sort of mid-October. So she does have more of an extended holiday there now, which may obviously be a concession to age. Okay, Vivian says, when Prince Charles becomes king, does the Duchess of Cornwall's children get a title? No. They weren't born into royalty, they weren't born into aristocracy. They may get honours, maybe. If they serve the monarchy personally, they could get an award or an honour that's within the king and queen consort's gift to give. So they could get an honour, but it wouldn't be a title. No. So I very much doubt that one will be bestowed on them. One interesting story in the media recently is Boris Johnson, one of our British politicians, has mentioned the Royal Yacht Britannia and possibly having a new Royal Yacht Britannia built, or the old one reinstated. And I did a video on this a couple of months ago, really, so just after the Brexit vote, the vote to leave the European Union, and I said that we should have a new Royal Yacht Britannia, especially as now that we need to make our own trade deals, that a Royal Yacht Britannia with a royal connection, but also used mainly as a trade ship, could be important to the United Kingdom. It's said that within the last 3 years before it was decommissioned, it brought in over £3.4 billion worth of trade to the UK. So business deals were being signed aboard the ship, and of course foreign dignitaries and foreign politicians were being wooed by the fact of its royal connections. So it would be pertinent to have a new royal yacht. What do you think? Personally, I'm in agreement. I think a new one should be built, and it should show that we're forward looking and we're going to go out there and generate some business post Brexit. Okay, Vivian said, oh, I've just read your comment, Vivian. Do I have any other new comments? I would love to hear your questions. And again, I do always love it when people comment on my videos. I do always read them. Even if I don't reply to every single one, I do read them. And it gives me some ideas for new videos. It lets me know what you think. And of course I appreciate all the thank yous, and it really helps to inspire new content. So thank you very much. And thank you for sharing on social media too. It's very important to get the message out there. Of course I'm trying to promote royalty in general. One of my aims is to get younger people involved with royalty or interested in it, because I feel that it can benefit young people. Okay, Loretta says, I read King Edward V helped shape today's monarchy. Do I agree? Edward V, that's going back a very long way. Do you mean George V, by the way? Just checking, because George V did shape a lot of today's monarchy. Perhaps I'm thinking perhaps, Loretta, you mean George V, because he's the one who changed the royal family surname from Saxe-Coburg-Gotha to Windsor. So I'm just checking that you mean him, and then I might talk a little bit about George V. George V obviously wanted to take the monarchy away from its more German connections and really modernised the royal family. He introduced lots more charity work, and he would walk amongst the people and he would visit the people, whereas previous monarchs had been a little bit more aloof. So I think George V really helped to shape today's monarchy. And George V's consort was Queen Mary, and Queen Mary acquired quite a lot of the royal family jewels, and she catalogued a lot of the royal collection, and she was very interested in the antiquities, and she started bringing back lots of artifacts from around the world. So Queen Mary and King George V did do a lot for the modern monarchy. Vivian says, is Pippa Middleton popular in the UK? I wouldn't say she's popular or dispopular. She's just the sister of the Duchess of Cambridge. She does attract media attention. Of course, she famously shot up in the media estimates when she was the bridesmaid at Catherine's wedding, wearing that dress. Say no more. And of course, her popularity is just at a level. She's the sister of the future queen. She of course will always be close to the throne, and she'll always be, invited to all the royal parties, and she will be included, just like the Middleton family are. So I think she is popular. I think when she has her wedding, that there will be a lot of media attention. People will want to know and find out about it. I'll be doing a video on it. So yeah, she's neither popular or dispopular, I think is the answer to that one. So hello to any new viewers. The format is just ask me a question in the chat box below, and I will try to answer you as best I can. Okay, Crystal Wilkinson says, did I stand in the crowd when the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge... let me read that question again. I'm not quite sure I got it. Did you stand in the crowd when the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge... Are you talking about their wedding? Maybe. When they were married? Yes. No, I didn't. I was watching it on the television. Sometimes I think that you actually get a better live view watching the TV coverage, because they show you the outside, they show you the inside. You get really good audio. You get the commentary on top from the news reporters. Um, so sometimes it's actually better to watch it live on the TV. I would like to go to more actual royal events and then obviously watch the TV coverage later, but I'm quite a bit away from London, so and some of these events happen when I'm at work, so sometimes it's not feasible to actually go in person to watch these events. But I would like to do more. Okay, Loretta says King Edward, so she does mean King Edward. I believe he's Queen Victoria's son Bertie. I read he believed the monarchy should be involved with duty. Queen Victoria wasn't known for shaking hands. Queen Victoria, after Albert's death, became fairly remote. She kind of entered into a semi-retirement, and she only did the duties that she had to do. So yes, King Edward was very, very different. Whereas she was very prim and proper, Edward wasn't. He was frivolous. He liked entertaining. He had mistresses, but he was of the people, and he did make contact with the people. But I believe that George V did more to modernise the monarchy, because George V didn't like the excesses of Edward, and so he tried to be a lot more dutiful. He was a lot more prim and proper than Edward. He wanted to bring the monarchy back in, but also he wanted to further the royal duties and make them more commonplace. So I personally, I think George V did more for the modern monarchy. And of course, in recent times, Diana did a lot to modernise the monarchy. If we look at how the monarchy operated before Diana, and sometimes most of the royal family during Diana, they didn't really understand her way, and I think they were a little bit afraid of it. And if you look at how the royals are conducting themselves now, including the Queen and Prince Charles, they're doing it a lot more Diana's way. So in modern times, I think Diana has done a lot to modernise the monarchy. Okay, Nancy says, is Queen Elizabeth in semi-retirement now? No, she's still doing 300, 400 engagements per year. There's just been slight adjustments made in respect of her age. For example, she now doesn't walk up certain stairs to the state opening of Parliament. She takes the lift. She has an extended holiday at Balmoral. She stays less at Buckingham Palace and more at Windsor, but yet the work is carried over to Windsor. So it's more like the work comes to her, concessions are made, there's more investitures than what there used to be, whereas before there would be maybe 1 or 2 investiture sessions per year. Now there's sort of 5 or 6. The work's been delegated to other members of the family. So the same amount gets done, but it's shared. So I think we'll see more and more of that. It's kind of like a really slow handover. But no, I wouldn't say she's in semi-retirement. She still keeps up very well with her duties, and she's remarkable for age 90. If you've watched some of my videos this week, you've seen her zooming around her Balmoral estate in her Range Rover, driving around Catherine, driving around Catherine's mother, Carol. So no, she's very much still very active. One correction I would like to make to my video about the Carol Middleton staying on the Balmoral estate. She is staying on the Balmoral estate, but she's not actually staying with Catherine and William at Birkhall. She is in fact a personal guest of the Queen in Balmoral Castle. So I found that out today. So I would like to put that out on this video. Carol Middleton is staying actually in Balmoral. The principal guest suites are on the ground floor of Balmoral. She is in a 2-bedroom suite with a bathroom. Usually the second bedroom is used as a private dressing room, and she is a personal special guest of the Queen. So that's how much the Queen is in favour of the Middletons. Of course, Catherine's father is there too. So yes, she is a personal guest of the Queen staying in the castle. Hi Chelsea. She says, "Hi, I'm new and just subscribed. What are my thoughts on King Charles III?" Well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. If you subscribe, it means you get all the latest uploads as they happen, so you don't miss out and you don't come late to the party, so to speak. Now, to your question, my thoughts on King Charles III. I don't think there will be King Charles III. I think Charles will become king, but I don't think he will call himself Charles III. I think he will take a different style. Very much as Queen Victoria's actual name was Alexandrina, one of her middle names was Victoria, and she chose to be styled Queen Victoria. I think Charles will want continuation with his grandfather's name, George, which was George VI. So I think Charles will choose to be styled George VII. That is my prediction. I don't think we will see a Charles III. I think Charles, the name Charles has been very much associated with him as Prince of Wales, and because he's been Prince of Wales for so long, I think he'll want to make a separation from that name. So my prediction is George VII. Okay, Loretta says, most people talk about King George VI's speech problem, but he stood with the people through the war. How is he viewed in British history? Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I do very much feel for King George VI and his speech problem. When I was younger, I also had a slight speech impediment and a stammer. Sometimes, as I'm sure you may heard in this video, I find it hard to get my words out, and sometimes I do have a stammer, especially if I'm becoming excited or I've got a lot of words to get out there. And you have to learn, if you've got a stammer, to sort of stop and take a deep breath and sort of say your words on the exhale breath. And of course, when George VI was out there making his speeches, it's very, very nerve-wracking when you're in front of all those people and you have to make a speech. So I can only imagine how he would have felt, and I too would probably have been very, very nervous at doing that. And yes, he definitely stood through the people through the war. He had, and I believe he probably couldn't have done that without Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, as she was then. She definitely was his backbone, she was his rock, she was his strength and stay. And she basically propped him up and allowed him to be the king that he was. He was a very shy person, and she definitely was the power behind the throne. But he fronted it perfectly, and throughout the war, he was viewed very famously as staying in the country and not going abroad. And of course, Queen Elizabeth made that very famous comment that she would not go without the children, and the king would not go without them. So they stayed in London, and they were very, very popular. And I think that's how he's viewed in history. That he stayed with the people and he was a king of the people. Okay, Vivian says, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall seem so happy on their royal engagements. I agree, they definitely do seem very, very happy. The Duchess seems so relaxed and natural. Do you think she will be queen? Yes, I've said this in probably the last two previous videos of the live chat. In law, the wife of the king is queen consort. The law has not been changed. As soon as Charles ascends to the throne, she will be queen consort. And that is a fact. She is very relaxed. I think she's very a calm person. Again, I think I think Charles is a little bit like George, his grandfather. I think he needs behind him somebody strong. I don't think he's shy or nervous like George was, but definitely think he needs that sort of rock. And I think Camilla is definitely, she's definitely very stable. She's always been stable. She's never, talked about the past. She's never gone to the media, and she's always been very supportive of Charles. And I think that's what Charles needed. And of course, when Charles married Diana, he hadn't really finished his relationship with Camilla. I think when you're discussing love, if you love somebody, you can't just turn it off. And of course, Camilla became not available. And I think that when he married Diana, he was kind of pushed into marriage. I think he believed that he probably would fall in love with Diana given time. And of course, that never happened. You can't just end love in your head. He's always loved Camilla. And of course, that's where the problem started for the Waleses. Diana needed to be loved. She needed attention. She needed a very dutiful, attentive husband. Charles wasn't able to give that to her. And, in the same way, Charles needed somebody very stable. He needed someone to be there, sort of quietly in the background, and that wasn't Diana. So the marriage was doomed from the start, and I think that Camilla is much more of a love match for Charles. Okay, Crystal says, history dictates that the Duchess can't be. She has a living husband. Edward VIII stepped down for that same situation. I think things have moved on. There is nothing barring her from being queen. That sort of a precedent was an optional one. He optionally forfeited the throne. He didn't have to by law. He could have continued, which he didn't. There is nothing barring Charles and Camilla from becoming king and queen consort. I just think Crystal says, though Wallis Simpson was a social climber, could that be the difference? I think the difference is that times have moved on. We're not living back in those days. Things have moved on, and time will tell. I think she will definitely be queen consort. I think more of a parallel between Charles and Camilla is actually not Wallis and Edward. I think more of a comparison can be made with Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn. Catherine of Aragon was Henry VIII's first wife. She was absolutely adored by the public. They absolutely loved her, and they couldn't understand why Henry VIII displaced her and banished her to a very damp castle with no money for Anne Boleyn. They believed that Anne Boleyn bewitched Henry VIII and was alluring and sexual, and I think that's a lot more of a parallel in the respect that the public loved Charles's first wife, Diana, and they see Camilla more as sort of usurping her. So I think the parallel is more between Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon. I think there's a lot more of a parallel there. What do you think? Personally, that's my own opinion. Okay. And of course, obviously, the people, once Henry VIII had married Anne Boleyn, they hated Anne Boleyn. They didn't like her. They didn't want her to be queen, but they couldn't stop it. The wife of the king is a queen consort. And that's my point. Okay, Vivian says, who is Prince Harry dating now? Do you think he will ever settle down? If he is dating someone, he's doing it very quietly, and the media has not reported it. Personally, I think he's single at the minute. I think he's probably finding it very hard to find someone who's willing to give up their privacy in such a way. And I think he's being very careful not to get anyone else into that media circle. But in terms of settling down, I think he wants us to settle down into a new country home in Norfolk, which I did a video on that previously. He was seen visiting some really expensive country mansions. So I think he wants us to settle down into a more country lifestyle when he's not in London. But in terms of having a partner, I don't think he's got one yet. Okay, Nancy says, do I believe that the government forced Edward VIII to abdicate because his pro-German leanings and used Wallis as a face-saving measure? Okay, first of all, the government didn't force him. I think they were pushing him, but I believe that there was reports that actually, if he had stuck to his guns, that they would have backed down. They couldn't have forced him not to marry her. It just would have, it may have been just very unpopular. But he could have rode it out. So who knows, if history had taken a different turn of events, it may have gone slightly different. And I believe that his pro-German leanings, yes, that may have influenced their displeasure of him. And they may very well have used Wallis's divorce as a face-saving measure. But either way, our present queen, would have still come to the throne because Edward and Wallis didn't have children. So of course, because George VI died before Edward, the queen would have our present queen would have come to the throne after the death of Edward, the Duke of Windsor. So we would still have had our present royal family exactly as it is. Okay. Loretta says she believes the issue is that Camilla can't respect marriage. I think a lot of people these days, for whatever reason, marriages fail, and I think people have sort of come to the realisation in today's age that you don't have to spend a whole lifetime with someone if you've made a mistake. I think people see that there is a way out, that you don't have to stick with the same person. I think in the past there may have been quite a lot of very unhappy couples, and nowadays you don't have to stay with the same person. Personally, I think that's quite a good thing, although I would advise caution in choosing the correct partner to begin with. Don't marry unless you're absolutely sure. I think we see a lot of marriages that are very quick off the mark, and people don't give themselves time to really get to know someone. So I think my point is that people should be choosing their partners and getting married only when they're absolutely sure that that's the person they want to stay the rest of their life with. But if you do make a mistake, I think divorce is a tool to use where you don't have to punish yourself the rest of your life. You know, you do only live once, and you know, why put yourself through many years of being with the wrong person? It doesn't do you any favour, and it doesn't do your partner any favour, and if you've got children, it doesn't do your children any favour. A loveless marriage is not something to suffer through, and so I think times, again, it's that whole chestnut of times have moved on. Okay, I think some people may have lost audio. If you can hear me, please let me know. Of course, I will put this back on as a new upload. So if you've missed any bits, you can go back and review it. Okay, Chelsea says, am I going to upload this to YouTube? Yes, I am. So you can go back and find the bits that you missed. Okay, so you can hear me again now. So welcome back. Okay, so do I have any other questions? Okay, something to show you. I am still reading this book, which is the Ken Worth book about Diana. I'm sort of, if you can see, I'm kind of there in the book. I'm at the pictures. It is a very good book. I think he really is trying to depict a true depiction of her personality, and I think that is coming through. There's lots of really good stories in the book, and I believe it to be 100% true and accurate. And I think it will go towards, in the future, being able to paint a better, clearer picture of Diana and her life, and not just going by the sensationalised media coverage. So I think as a true account of somebody who worked closely with her, it is a very good read. But I'm not quite sure that he should be making money from it. I think if it is just for prosperity, as he says, then he should perhaps give any proceeds to Diana's charities, or William and Harry's charities. Okay, Crystal says, how long have I had my YouTube channel? Well, interestingly enough, I've probably had it about 1.5 years. I made my first video about Diana's apartment at Kensington Palace, and that took off really, really well. But I didn't do a lot more. I sort of took quite a big gap in between videos, so I'd do a video every couple of months, or sort of there was a 6-month gap. So I didn't really start it properly until about March of 2016. So in March 2016, I started doing weekly videos, and I started doing them mainly at the weekend, which is when I wasn't working. And since then, I've just followed more and more and more royal stories, and I've sort of thought about what I'd like to see on YouTube. So I've done some videos like the Royal Yacht Britannia, or the Royal Family Jewels, and I've just taken it on more and more and more. So now when I get home from work, I always look at what the royals have been up to, and if I think it'll make a good video, I make a video. In fact, there's been quite so much royal engagements and things happening sort of this week and the tail end of last week that I've got a bit of a backlog. So what I'm planning on doing is a royal roundup video where I can put lots of different stories into one video, such as Charles being Londoner of the Year, Camilla visiting Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, Prince Harry coming back from Africa. There's all these different stories. So I may do a royal roundup video, which I may publish tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be able to get around and do that. But my channel is probably about 1.5 years old, but I've only really been doing it properly since about March. So I'm really impressed with how it's taken off. In that short time, it seems to have done really, really well. And I'm just absolutely amazed that people watch. So thank you for watching. I say that at the end of every video, thank you for watching, because I do genuinely mean it. Thank you for watching. Okay, Vivian says, I heard Prince William did not approve of Princess Beatrice's long-time ex-boyfriend. Is it true, and why? Again, that is media speculation. There is nothing confirming or denying that claim. So you have to always treat those with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Again, he hasn't spoken about it, so we don't really know. I think it's more to do with the fact that Beatrice, obviously nothing serious had come of the relationship. There was no marriage on the cards. I think they just needed some time apart to really think about what they wanted. You know, were they going to have a future? Were they going to get married? It could be that they may just be taking a break. It happened for William and Catherine. They took a short break and they realised how much they wanted to be together, and then William had the courage to pop the question, and the rest is history. So it could be a similar situation to that. Loretta said, I agree, good book. So I think you're talking about the Diana book. So have you read it? It sounds like you've read it. It is really good. Chelsea Thomas says, what is the history of Charles and Camilla? I was too young to understand all the hate to Camilla. Okay, I think I touched on it slightly earlier, but if you're new to the video, I will sort of explain. So Charles and Camilla met when they were very, very young. They met at a polo match, and they hit it off, and I think they had a bit of a relationship going. And Charles entered a military career, obviously training for his future royal duties, and Camilla went off and married a different man, Andrew Parker Bowles. So she became unavailable. And of course, Charles was getting older and older. And at age 32, which is the age that Prince Harry is at now, he was under a lot of pressure to find a virgin bride. And of course, he still loved Camilla. But she was married, she was unavailable. So, Diana came along. He met Diana. He'd known the family for a very long time. And she was the perfect candidate to be the future Princess of Wales. She was young. They thought that they could mould her and shape her. They thought she would be dutiful and sort of adoring of her husband and slightly overawed by the royal family and by him. They thought that she would be submissive. And I think he thought that given time that he would eventually come to love her and forget about Camilla. And of course that didn't happen. They both couldn't give each other what they desperately needed. And of course, you can't just forget about the love of your life. So eventually, Camilla was taken up as Charles's mistress. And I think later on, round about 1990, the royal family had kind of sanctioned the infidelity because Camilla was holidaying with Charles at Birk Hall in Balmoral whilst the Queen Mother was staying there. So I think the Queen Mother had kind of shown her approval of the relationship. By that point, the marriage was irretrievably broken down. Diana had also had her infidelities, and there was no saving the relationship. So it all broke down, and they got divorced. And then obviously, eventually, Camilla and Charles married in 2005. Finally. And obviously the only really sad thing to come out of all of that was that in 1997 Diana was killed in a car crash. And just like Charles had a chance to remarry and find happiness, she never got that chance herself to remarry and find happiness. And that is the sad point of the whole thing. So I hope that briefly, in a nutshell, explains their relationship. Denise T says, do I live around London? No, I live in Shropshire, which is in the middle of England, but towards the Welsh border. So I'm about sort of 3.5, 4 hours by train away from London. Loretta says, yes, I listened to the audiobook on YouTube. I think I remember you saying that you did last time. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I personally prefer to read books, and it is really, really good. I'm reading it quite slowly at night time before bed. Crystal says, do you think Prince William had to ask permission to give Diana's ring to the Duchess of Cambridge? No, that was inherited by William. So it was William's to give to Catherine, to his future bride. So that was part of Diana's inheritance to her boys. It's unsure how, for example, the jewellery was split. So I'm imagining that perhaps William got the key pieces to possibly reintegrate, obviously, with the royal family jewels for prosperity. Harry may have got some of the other jewels. I'd like to think maybe Harry got the big sapphire and pearl choker. Maybe when he settles down, we may start to see some of those jewellery being worn again. But certainly I think Catherine does have quite a few of the sapphire pieces. You see her wearing some of the earrings. That I think Diana had them as drops and Catherine had them made into just studs. Okay. Even though that it was his inheritance. No, I think it was just his to give. And of course, he carried it in his rucksack on their African adventure for a couple of weeks before actually giving it to her. So it was definitely his to give. Can Kate pass Diana's ring to Charlotte? Well, presumably, maybe. Charlotte will be married before Catherine passes away. I think she could choose to give her that ring, but she may want to keep it herself until the day that she dies. So maybe it could be given to Charlotte's daughter, or even George's eldest child. It's more than likely to go to George and to stay in the family, I would imagine. Okay, Nancy said that she's read Worf's book and thought that it was quite good. I recently read that Worf thought Prince William was arrogant. Is this public opinion in Britain? So far, I've got to about 3/4 of the way through, and I haven't read that he said he was arrogant. So, so that hasn't been reported in the British press. Where have you heard that, Nancy? Can you tell me which sources have come up with that? The letter says, is it true if you're under 25, the Queen has to give permission to marry? That's only if you are a direct descendant and you are so many places in line to the throne. So Princess Eugenie had to seek permission from the Queen because she's in line to the throne. And I don't think it matters what the age is. I think if you're within a certain placeage in the line, that you have to ask permission from the Queen to marry. And of course that was granted. Vivian says, does the Prince of Wales sell any of the fruits and vegetables grown from Highgrove? Yes, he does. He sells them. You can buy things online. You can buy them from the farm shops that are nearby. And does he donate them to charity? I'm not sure if he does. I'd like to think that if there was things that were not going to be sold, that he would. And he may donate them to charity for giveaways. So if you're having some sort of charity fundraising event, I think he probably would give some to charity. Nancy said it was a comment made apart from the book. But who made the comment and where was it? When sort of researching these things, I always look at where they're from and if the source is reliable, or if it's just the sort of press that's trying to get a little bit of attention or a comment. So I would like to know where that's from, if possible. Okay, what is the Camilla Gate? I know it started in 1993, and that's from Chelsea Thomas. Are we talking about the tapes? Because there were some tapes that were recorded where a telephone conversation was intercepted between Charles and Camilla, where he said some very personal things. Sorry, there's a bug flying around and I just had to hit it out of the way. So I'm not just waving, there is a bug. So yes, if you're talking about those tapes, he said some very personal things to Camilla. And I'm not going to go into what they were. The tapes are still probably there on YouTube. So if you want to go and listen to them, just type it in and you can listen. And of course it did cause quite a media storm. Denise says, does my area get snow in winter? It used to. When I was young, every winter we did mostly have at least some snow. Not quite like what you get in America, but nevertheless, winter was still winter. It was cold, and we did, mostly we did have some snow at least some point in winter. But with climate change, things are changing. The last probably 4 or 5 winters have been fairly warm and wet. We haven't really had a really good bout of snow for sort of 6 years maybe. And even then, that was in sort of January, and actually we had some in April once. So, okay, I think most people can't see me. So I think it's probably about time to say goodbye. If you can't see me, there's not much point. Okay, what I'm going to do is say goodbye to everybody until next week. Today's chat has been really interesting. I've really enjoyed it. We've had lots of good questions and not many technical problems up until the point where you can't see me. So look out for lots of new videos coming up. And I'm going to do a Royal Roundup video tomorrow to tie up all the loose ends of the stories, of the odds and ends of stories that I haven't been able to cover in the week. So, from me in Shropshire, goodbye to everybody, and I will see you next Saturday at 10 PM GMT. So, from me, goodbye.